After nearly 35 years since he defined the character on the big screen, Michael Keaton is returning as Batman in The Flash, the latest entry in the DC cinematic universe. But after so long of being out of the cowl, fans have got to be wondering what brought Keaton around to Batman's return. So, here's why Michael Keaton is really returning to DC. While fans are stoked to see the original Caped Crusader again, it has come as something of a surprise, seeing as Keaton is now in his 70s. Some people are wondering if he's up to it. But hey, Michael has a lot of experience in proving the haters wrong, especially when it comes to playing the Dark Knight. See, back in 1989, when it was first announced that Keaton would bring Batman to life in the Tim Burton film, a lot of eyebrows were raised. At the time, Keaton had been typecast as a comedic actor due to his previous roles in movies like Mr. Mom and Burton's classic Beetlejuice. So a lot of people questioned his ability to play a serious role. Sounds crazy now, right? Keaton's performance has obviously had a massive impact on the portrayal of the character. It seems obvious today, but for a long time, Batman was pretty silly. Sure, in the comics he was dark and broody, but not everyone read the comics. And before Keaton, this was what people thought Batman was. But then 1989 came and changed the course of pop culture forever. Seriously, watching the movie today, you can see how much modern superhero movies owe to Burton and Keaton. Together, they defied expectations and redefined the character forever. So, while he is definitely getting up there in years, I wouldn't put it past Keaton to do it again. And there have been plenty of exciting stories over the years starring an older Batman, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns being a perfect example. So, is that why Keaton wants to come back? Does he want his Dark Knight to return? Well, for a very long time, it didn't look like that was going to happen. Following Batman, Keaton established himself as one of Hollywood's A-list leading men, starring in a wide range of films, including Pacific Heights, One Good Cop, My Life, and the star-studded Shakespearean story Much Ado About Nothing. He also worked with the legendary Quentin Tarantino on Jackie Brown. During that time, he appeared in the Tim Burton sequel, Batman Returns, in 1992, but left the role for the subsequent Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, which saw Batman played by Val Kilmer and George Clooney respectively. And the less said about those two, the better.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
So it seemed like things were looking good for Keaton after his departure from Gotham City. However, the early 2000s saw his career take a bit of a dip. Keaton wasn't washed up by any means, but definitely wasn't getting the high-profile roles he experienced immediately after Batman. It was at this stage that Marvel launched its enormously successful cinematic universe, which probably only got the go-ahead since the studios saw how enormously popular superhero movies could be. Since Michael Keaton's Batman was at the time one of the most financially successful movies ever. Keaton's dry spell ended in 2014, when Keaton starred in Alejandro González Iñárritu's Birdman. The film was a critical and commercial success, with Keaton actually getting nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actor, and was honestly robbed of the win by Eddie Redmayne in my opinion. Keaton starred as Regan Thompson, a faded actor famous for playing a superhero named Birdman. See the connection? Makes sense why Keaton was cast in the role. But because the film explored an aged actor trying to get away from a role that seemed to overshadow the rest of his career, it kind of felt like the movie was a bit of a statement. And so, that felt like that was it for Keaton as the Dark Knight. Birdman saw his career come back in a big way, as an Academy Award nomination will tend to do. Keaton was ironically cast in the MCU as the Vulture in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Now, if I had a nickel for every time Keaton played a Birdman, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't Bruce Wayne money, but it's weird it happened twice. So it was clear that Keaton was not above returning to his superhero blockbuster roots, and speculation started running around that maybe, just maybe, he would once again don the Batsuit. Now, while Marvel was going gangbusters, DC was obviously struggling to keep up. Now, even if you like the Zack Snyder-era DC movies, you have to admit, it's pretty clear that they weren't as well mapped out as Marvel was. And whilst people were holding out hope for Keaton's return, DC seemed to be having a hard time even getting Ben Affleck his own movie in the series, let alone giving Keaton a chance to return. I do also have to talk about Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, which, despite going for a more grounded, realistic take on Batman, definitely took a few notes from Keaton and Burton. But after The Dark Knight Rises, released in 2012, that made 7 blockbuster Batman movies in 20 years, which really is a lot. And that's not including the massively popular animated series starring the late, great Kevin Conroy, which aired shortly after Keaton appeared as the character, and also owes a lot to his portrayal.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!
This, coupled with the countless other merchandise tie-ins, gave the impression that Batman was everywhere. So there wasn't really a need for Keaton to return, because in a lot of ways, Batman never really left. Eventually, it was announced that Keaton would appear as an aging Bruce Wayne in Batgirl. However, the movie was cancelled in 2022, most likely a casualty of James Gunn becoming DC Studios' head honcho and changing the direction of the series. So again, it felt like Keaton was never going to return. I mean, after having the movie you filmed be cancelled, you'd probably be a bit hesitant to film another. But then, in the trailer for the much-anticipated The Flash, it finally happened.
Yeah. I'm Batman.
So now we are at the burning question. What made Michael Keaton return as Batman? Well, with all the superhero movies coming out in recent years, Keaton apparently had been wondering what it would be like to return as the Caped Crusader. And then, as though it was destiny, Warner Brothers gave him the call. But Keaton said that it was ultimately the script by Christina Hodson that truly convinced him. It has to be good, Keaton said of the script. There's no reason to do it if it's not good. It's not really gonna change anything, and I just jumped in and had fun. And why would you not? You know, I mean, director Andy Muschietti is fantastic, and it's really creative. I don't know, it's fun. I guess it really was that simple. But it seems like it has taken Keaton quite a journey to get there. And I suppose he's at a point in his career where he can just do the things that look like the most fun. Spider-Man No Way Home also proved that there is a significant market for superhero nostalgia. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's return was a huge draw for the third Spidey flick, and it seems that DC was probably taking notes. See, it finally feels like it is an appropriate time for Keaton's Batman to return. Comic book fans have theorized for a while that DC Studios would adopt a popular Flash story to act as a reset button for the film's messy universe. Because that's exactly what the comic did. Flashpoint saw the Flash going back in time, by running really fast obviously, and changing the past, and accidentally messing up his timeline. He finds himself in a post-apocalyptic world torn apart by a war between Aquaman's Atlanteans and Wonder Woman's Amazonians. The Flash also meets an older, battle-hardened Batman who helps him fix the past to save the future. In doing so, the Flash reset the continuity of the comics in order to streamline the incredibly expansive universe the comics had established. So, in adapting this story, it is finally the right time for Keaton to return. And although it's clear that the decision is most likely fueled by some nostalgic pandering, it is a little hard not to feel excited to have him back in the Batcave. Maybe we've just been wired that way after years of Hollywood hitting us over the head with things we know. Keaton looks like he's having fun, and that alone kind of makes it worth it, don't you think? Anyway, that's the reason why Michael Keaton is really returning to DC. And one thing's for certain, it looks like it's gonna be nuts.
You wanna get nuts? Let's get nuts.
That's all for now. Until next time.